when you kind of digest this whole Chastain Larson thing, you definitely have to go back earlier, a previous restart. So where Chastain was on the inside of Larson, and so this is before the one where Larson kind of rubbed Chastain up. I think he was paying him back from earlier in the earlier restart where Chastain he didn't give Kyle much room. I saw him. He slid up pretty aggressively in the middle of 1 and 2. It caused Kyle to kind of check up a little bit because he probably thought he was about to get slammed. And then Ross just kind of kept pushing Kyle up and higher on the exit of 2, where it caused Kyle to get up in the loose stuff. And then Kyle lost 3 or 4 positions. And then Kyle's one of those guys that, like, he'll race you, pretty fair, but you do stuff like that, certainly he'll give it back to you. Like he's gonna rough you up a little bit or maybe door you. Yeah. He's definitely a dooring you kind of guy. And that's why you heard Ross after the Kyle. So then you had the restart with about, 9 to go or so. Kyle Larson goes in turn 1. He's on the inside of Ross. He clearly just goes up there.
This is the one that they wreck in the second row.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is the one takes Truex out.
This is where Truex, I don't know, just completely missed his line and came up in front of Joey and, took that whole field out. Speaking of which, NASCAR the order was all wrong. Like, I couldn't understand, and they even showed, and I know Kelly Crandall and a few other media folks were questioning, or they asked NASCAR to clarify, why were the cars that were in the wreck placed back in front of cars that missed the wreck? And they said, well, they maintain caution pace. Well, you watch the in-car camera, and, like, they were destroyed, and saying that they were running pace car speed was probably a stretch. Like, that's a stretch. And there was cars clearly that passed them on the bottom. We got to do a better job of getting these order right, because what happened is that I passed these cars that were wadded up at the top of the track. I don't care if they're going straight or not going 35 miles per hour and they're straight. Well, they're in the wreck. Like, they've got carnage all around. They're in the wreck. So we go around them on the bottom side. Caution's out. Next thing you know, 4 guys go and pass me and go back up to their spot that they were in. Like, they pass 10, 15 cars, and then they just get there. They go up there and they say, all right, pit road's open, and everyone's able to pit from their damn spot that they were in. And so that's why Chase Elliott, Brad Keselowski, Kevin Harvick all got good finishes. They should have been wherever they merged after they got clear of it and then maintained. It's not caution cars. It shouldn't be caution car speed. It should be whatever the other cars are running at the time, right? It's just they got to get the order better. If they got to stop the race or whatever, because right now it's getting worse and worse. The whole free-for-all of a caution flies, and next thing you know, people are speeding up to try to cheat a few positions. Like, they'll try to get in front of 2 or 3 cars and then hope NASCAR doesn't see it. Or if they do see it, well, then they'll go back to scoring loops or, you know what, pit's open, let's go. We ain't got time to mess with this. So we got to get the order right, because certainly I know the 23 got, kind of probably screwed on a few of them. I know whoever I was around, there was so many cars that passed us that were in the wreck that we didn't quite understand why they got to go back where they were.
Bubba's tweet was eye-opening because he tweeted the broadcast footage of the in-car camera of Harvick. And it's like clear as day that he's in the wreck.
He's in the wreck.
And then you're thinking, like, oh, yeah, he started second on that last restart.
I know.
I'm really just wondering how his car wasn't demolished from the impact of hitting.
It was. That's why he even said he really had no chance to compete with Byron because the car was destroyed. And if you looked at Chase Elliott, he wasn't even near, like, he started on the second row twice.
He was sandwiched. He was up.
And his car was so destroyed, he didn't even remotely contend because his car was destroyed. And the 6, who knows how much damage he had. So it kind of, they just need to work on it. They need to work on getting the order right before they open pit road. They need to stop the shenanigans of letting people try to speed back into their spot. Listen, it's a hard job. It's a thankless job up in that tower, but certainly something we got to work on.
Okay, so back to
so let's go back.
Larson and Chastain.
So then Larson, he definitely got wronged by Chastain when he got moved up the racetrack in turn 2. Not only did he lose the lead, he lost second and third place. He went back to fourth.
Yep.
And that was a pretty crucial moment of the race. And then, so later on, and the TV was broadcast was all over. Clint did a great job of explaining it. He says, hey, don't think that Kyle Larson forgot about Chastain, shoving him up the racetrack. Well, sure enough, they go into turn 1, and Kyle instantly just kind of lets go of the wheel and just kind of moves up the racetrack. I mean, hate to say it, but it's very similar to what I did to Chastain.
He did not let go of the wheel, though.
It's not actual. That is not an actual statement. That is a
hyperbole.
Yes, sure. Embellishing would actually happen. So he let go of the wheel, which means he released the wheel and just says, I'm going to use up this room right here with Chastain. And so no harm, no foul. They were side by side. Caution came out. Video showed that Chastain was now the leader. Well, Chastain then picks the inside. He's like, well, I'm not going to let that happen again. And you even heard him on the radio trying to analyze what lane do I pick? Well, the 9, he might not push me, and then the 5 will have the 24 pushing him, and that's not going to work. So,
and the 5, are we even now?
Yeah, are we even, or are we going to do this again? So evidently he was worried about it not being even, so he chose the inside, and then he just went into the corner. And now again, I'm not sticking up for him. I'm not, for the record. Kyle did hedge down the racetrack a little bit,
anticipating that Chastain was probably going to run him up the racetrack.
So he needed room. Yes, he wanted to have extra room to the wall. Correct. So either way, I think that they were going to make significant contact through as much throttle as they were carrying into the corner. But man, yeah, Chastain was probably more ahead of him than he had planned on being, and so Kyle, got squished into the wall, and then Chastain wrecked himself. And so, yeah, and then you saw Kyle just kind of keep the gas down. I wish he should have just kept going. I wish he would just kind of push them all
down the backstretch.
No, right into the pit lane. just dump him off at pit lane and then turn right and go back on the racetrack. But at that point, he's trying not to damage his car any more than it probably already is. But yeah, certainly, the 5 teams frustrated. Cliff Daniels, he's a late race commentator. He said, Chevrolet, this is number 3. Third time Chastain's done this to us. He's rattling off these races that Chastain's taken Kyle out. I'm not arguing with it. I mean, Chastain's got he's got a piece of everyone here lately. It's amazing because you're like thinking, can he go 1 week? Is there any week where you can go without rubbing somebody the wrong way? And
you got a feel for the 5 team because they got taken out last week, or a chance to win by some guy.
They didn't get taken out. They finished second.
I guess.
Oh,
I'm just tongue in cheek.
This is what, as Ron Herbert would call, you're playing both sides.
He does, yeah.
You're playing both sides because Jared takes a few photos for Kyle Larson too. Don't let him fool you. Yeah, I see. Kyle Larson. You got a picture of him on your little briefcase thing for your. There's no pictures of me on there.
That's a great sticker that Sonoma gave out for free. All you need to do is put in your email address. They send you a sticker.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Really good promotion.
So, I mean, listen, whose fault is it? It's definitely Chastain's fault for sure. He even said that, hey, I wrecked myself here. But it's interesting because people talk about all the time, well, he never gets the bad end of his stuff. He did this week, right? That part of it caught up. But I think it goes unspoken, or it gets overlooked that he should be winning a lot more than he is. he's only won 2 races, and one of them was on the road course, and there was contact in that one. But like, you would think he'd be winning as fast as he is, and he's up front every week, as stellar as his pit crew is. He should be winning more. Definitely should be winning more.
Down to execution, right?
It
By
does.
the driver.
It does. But what I'm saying to you is that perhaps if he was on the better side of some of the drivers, he would get a break here and there. And his races would go a little less confrontational because no one's cutting him a break. So there's always contact with him because no one's willing to just say, okay, come on by.
Yeah.
You've cut me a break, so come on by. Like, so there's not as much give and take probably with him. The guys are going to race him more aggressively, which in turn, he races aggressive, so that equals the contact, which that is in turn maybe why he's not winning as much. There could be no facts behind that, but I'm just saying it might not be a coincidence.
Could it more just be that he's just overstepping his boundaries in these crucial moments during the race when he has an opportunity to win?
Well, I certainly think you have to manage races for sure. I mean, there's a time and a place for everything. For like aggressive moves. Hey, this is like, I know when there's key restarts that I got to nail this one, or, here in today's world, you got to nail them all, but you just know starting on the front row, this is one where I've got to get the lead. I've got to get the lead. I can't get this guy any inches here. I can't cut him a break. If he gets loose, I ain't checking up. Like, there's moments for that. But there's also other moments where it's like, we got at least 2 more pit stops, at least probably another restart or 2 coming. Do I really need to do this right this second?
Exactly. That's what I'm wondering about Chastain, is that it seems like he's racing 110% from the drop of the green flag to the checkered flag. And when you're racing like that on lap 100 of 300, the more experienced the guy's going to be like, okay, go ahead. Mm-hmm. There's more to play for here. And then it's just catching up to him at the end of these races.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because, you look at the stats sheet, right, and you say, well, Hendrick Motorsports has dominated the season, that, William Byron's got wins and Kyle Larson's got wins, and they've just been the best. I argue that. I think that the one car in that team has been kind of right there with them. They don't have as clean of races as the other ones for whatever reason. I don't know. I don't watch all of his races and see why he doesn't win more. I mean, he's going to win a lot for sure in the future, and probably starting this week. I tend to motivate guys in that kind of way. But it just seems like maybe he is getting it back and we're just not seeing it. Like, people are thinking, well, when's someone going to do something with Chastain or whatever, right? Like, maybe they are, and we just aren't seeing it. Maybe people aren't cutting them as much room as they normally would, which is resulting in this contact happening.
Yeah, like Kyle, the restart before the last, right?
Yep. TV saw it coming, and certainly any fan at home saw that coming. That, Kyle was gonna give him the door because he not only did he lose the lead, he cost them 3 or 4 spots, which that was big. And then Chastain just drove in there and says, he said, I wanted to squeeze him. I wanted to squeeze him. And he cost himself. Now, he cost the 5 team in the process as well. But finally, it seems like Ross kind of got the bad end of his decision there, for sure.
Yeah. I do want to say, I really hope that Ross does not change the way he races, because I think what's happening right now is phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean,
it's as a whole.
It's great for the storylines. There's no question. We're talking about it. This is what NASCAR needs, right? Is these type of storylines. You need someone to ruffle some feathers every now and then. You would think that it would be this guy this week, that guy the next week, and it would just kind of ebbs and flows. But man, he's a magnet for it.
Yeah, I think he should just continue to race like a and embrace the personality, because the sport doesn't really have that.